So the crane's now here, as you guys can see. So it's officially the day where rubber's gonna meet the road, and we can see if we can clear that span.
Morning, guys. You know there's quite a lot of activity going on this morning, huh? Come on, guys, we got farm chores. Come on. And for you guys, I'll try to explain what's happening. All right, dogs, let's go greet birds, huh? Good morning, birds! I know, Toby, you don't like that thing that's going on down by the street. So over the last month or two, I have silently been waging a war here from our farm. A war that pits our tiny little farm against a large telephone monopoly.
Another case of monopoly-related violence, Chief.
So I have a problem. This wire right here, it is precariously close to our driveway. As you can see behind me, there is not much distance between the wire and my driveway. On a regular basis, when we're getting deliveries from trucks, we often have to have the trucks park on the road because they can't get underneath that wire. Or at least their drivers aren't sure if they can get underneath that wire. There's a utility pole over there, and there's a utility pole over there, and the part of this wire that sits above my driveway sags down pretty gosh darn far. And for the 6.5 years that we've owned this farm, I have suffered this problem in silence and just said, suck it up, buttercup, deal with it. But I can be tolerant no more, because right over here, this space, like right here, this whole area, this whole big general area you see right behind me, we're gonna be building a brand new barn right in that space. The barn is designed to help the continued growth of our small Vermont farm, and this barn's gonna be huge. And because I wanted the barn to match the working landscape of here in Vermont, the barn's gonna actually be a handcrafted timber framed barn. It'll actually complement this beauty quite nicely. But in order for us to build the barn, we're gonna need to bring in a crane so that we're able to lift up the large pieces of timber that are gonna be used to form the structure of the barn. But unfortunately, this crane is about 12.5 feet high. But because this wire is just a scotch over 12 feet off the ground, there's actually no possible way to get the crane from the road over to where we're gonna build the barn. Which means if we can't get the crane up to here, we have quite the mess on our hands. And so I decided to make a phone call to the electrical company asking them to see if they could raise their wire up. They came out here and looked at the situation and they said, hey homie, that's not our problem. That's not a power company wire, that's a telephone company wire. And so then I talked to the telephone company and I politely asked them to move their wire up. And they said to me, look dude, even though our current standard for installation is 14 feet, we grandfathered in old wires that are only 12 feet off the ground. And so if you're gonna wanna make a change and get that truck in, your farm's gonna need to pay us to move our wires. Even though they said that the standard is 14 feet for installation these days. And so yes, yesterday I actually got a whole formal letter of intent from the telephone company asking me to basically send them $1,000 and then they'll come here when the crane arrives and lift the wire up. And then when we're ready to take the crane back off site, they'll come again and they'll lift it up again so we can get the crane out. It's an entirely temporary fix. It's still gonna prevent other larger trucks from coming up here. And particularly as we continue to try to grow our farm, I worry about that being a future cost I'm gonna still have to contend with.
So I was about ready to give up and just pay the phone company $1,000 so we could lift the wires and I can get the crane in. But then I got a message from a lady at government relations at Consolidated Communications, and she said she thought she could help me.
So the cable is like just at 12 feet, maybe even a scotch under at certain parts of the driveway. When I contacted folks from Consolidated, what I got back was a quote saying that it would be $1,000.
The $1,000 to raise up and lower is our cost to send people up to hold the cable. And so obviously that doesn't sound like a fix. I frankly don't have a problem eating $1,000 to get your crane in.
That's what I wanted to hear! While it wasn't going to totally fix my problem with the low wire, the fact that the telephone company offered to pay for the cost of raising it to get the crane in did make me feel a little bit better. But then I got another email.
We all met as a group, and the team felt that the lines were up to code. So we decided to continue to follow our policy regarding customers paying the cost for moves. Thanks. Sarah Davis, Vice President Government Relations, Consolidated Communications. Consolidated Communications. Go f yourself, Gold Shaw Farm.
Now I thought I had my solution. This woman had offered to pay for the cost of raising and lowering the wire, which doesn't necessarily solve the long-term problem, but it does fix my short-term problem. Release the Quackers! It's a start. They seem like they're more likely to go outside these days. Oh, something else got the dog's attention out back there. What is that? Yeah, I don't know what it is, but something's got his hackles up. Well, anyway, back to the story. So even though the wire was clearly below the 14 feet that's specified by the code that's in the regulations, our telephone company, Consolidated Communications, said it was on me to pay for moving it.
By the way, just as a little side tangent, can you guys imagine a more generic name for your telephone company? I mean, we are talking about a large, highly profitable, publicly traded company, and their name is Consolidated Communications?
Who are the ad wizards who came up with this one?
Very, very frustrating. But while it was frustrating, I also wasn't going to be daunted. And specifically, Justin, who's helping build the barn for me, he and I thought about like really trying to measure down to the inch to see if we could slip the crane truck through. Because remember, I used a drone to get a measurement, which might not be perfectly accurate, but Justin had the brilliant idea of cutting a 2x4 that was precisely the height of the crane truck. And if that was to be able to slip under, we might still be good to slip the truck under. And now you might be wondering about the height of that measurement and what the results were, but I gotta go help Justin down by the street.
Yes, the truck just barely cleared the line by about an inch or two, and so this turned out to be much ado about nothing.
Toby's not happy about that crate up. He's like, what the heck is that thing? Is that some sort of new aerial predator or something?
But now with the crane in place, the crew was able to start building the barn very, very quickly. You see, they've been here at the farm for the past week, and they brought a lot of that lumber down, and they started to assemble some of the frames that you're seeing here. And so they had all of these large pieces that were going to make up the core structure of the barn all set and ready to go. And so what it really was a matter of doing is using the crane to pick up each of these gigantic pieces and then fastening them together in place so that they would be stable. Once the barn pieces are actually in place, the crew goes through and they'll put pins in between the joinery, and that will lock everything so that it's nice and stable for a very, very long time.
So it is wicked exciting to see just how much progress has been made in the last 60 minutes. I'll check back in the next video and you guys can see just how far along this whole thing has come. Thanks for watching, everybody.